Welcome back into Talk Off, everybody. Happy New Year. It is Tuesday, January 3rd, 2023. And today, we'll be tackling the difficult issue of climate change and geopolitical controversies.
Absolutely. Don't forget, we're going to unpack the Vietnam War and why we were there.
Which is still ongoing. It never ended.
Still argue about it.
But this weekend was a great weekend of football.
It absolutely was. There was too much football on. Between college bowl games, college football playoffs, NFL, there was a lot of meaningful games.
I'll tell you, if you were an Ohio State fan, your new year could not have started any worse.
Just watching them miss the field goal as the clock struck midnight.
That was crazy.
It was poetic. I felt like I was living a movie.
That was actually insane. I've never seen anything like that. Like, you could not have timed it better.
With like almost maybe a minute left, I think someone was saying it. Somebody called it where we were. Somebody called it and said, like, what if it ends like right at midnight? I didn't think it would actually happen. It was crazy. It literally hit zero as he missed a field goal. And what a terrible miss! What a terrible miss!
Yeah, that was terrible.
If he made it, what a story! But he missed, which makes it even funnier.
That would have been unbelievable hitting. Would that have been a game winner? To be honest,
that would have been a game winner.
Yeah, because that time around the game at that point was a little foggy for me. But that would have been probably the craziest story ever, right? Hitting a game-winning kick as the ball is dropping.
As the clock strikes New Year's Eve.
2022 ended in 2023.
Exactly. That's actually crazy. Kick took a whole year to get there.
So that was, honestly, though, I would love to see numbers of how many people bet Georgia within that game, because
a lot
of people. So honestly, your book is probably happy that Ohio State didn't hit that kick.
Ohio State, they came out hot. So did TCU
really good
in their game against Michigan. Both college football playoff games. We were wrong. Maybe you were right. You thought TCU was going to stay in it. But that Georgia-Ohio State game, me and you, both of us, had Georgia absolutely dismantling Ohio State, and they struggled. They struggled for a while.
They hung in for a while.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, I'm not going to bring it up again, because if we have any Ohio State fans listening, we are 100% going to lose viewership. But I'm sorry. That's a game Georgia deserves to win, but, God, it's like, what are the odds?
Just a bad way to end your season. You just end the season with a bad taste in your mouth after that.
So I was extremely cold this entire weekend on picks. I think the TCU points was probably my best pick out of all of the New Year's Six Bowls that were. There's currently one going on that I believe I took Penn State.
We both took Penn State. We had Tulane, though. We did have Tulane. You heard that here first.
So Penn State and Utah, as we are speaking, are locked up right about the midway point through the third quarter right now at 14-all. Is that weird? Is that weird to say 14-all about a football game? I don't know why I just said that. So.
I think it's okay.
I don't know. It made it sound like we were playing like ping pong or something.
Yeah, we were very cold on picks this weekend, though. It was honestly kind of embarrassing. Tennessee, Tennessee starting out the weekend, didn't see it happening. I thought Clemson was good for a win this game. Couldn't get it done. Joe Milton in Tennessee, they came out firing. He looked great. I don't know what got into him, but he looked great for Tennessee. They took that game.
Clemson looks like they looked lost out there for most of the second half of that game.
Well, I mean, with DJ Ugalugalaga not playing, they're obviously going to struggle with a true freshman at quarterback.
Oh, wow. Penn State just broke off like a 65, 70-yard run.
87, I just saw it. Yeah, wow.
So this weekend was a little crazy. The TCU Michigan game was obviously, in my opinion, the best overall game of the day. The Georgia Ohio State was a climatic ending, but I don't think there's. I can't tell whether I'm surprised TCU pulled out that win, or if I'm more shocked that Michigan can't win a bowl game. They can't win a big game under Harbaugh.
I think it's more the Michigan side. I thought for sure that if there was anything we could count on Michigan to do was play good defense, and we didn't see that. Max Duggan picked their defense apart. And he didn't just do it with his arm. He was doing it with his legs, like the whole game.
And he ran all over the field.
Watching him pick apart the Michigan defense was sad to watch. I mean,
and it wasn't even like the Michigan played poorly. The defense, absolutely could have prevented some long runs by Duggan. J.J. McCarthy just threw 2 untimely picks in that game.
Yep. They got off to a very slow start, and a pick 6 to start off the game is not how you want to start off, and that's what happened. I mean, they went down 7-0 early after J.J. McCarthy got pick 6, and it's a young guy in a big game. I mean, what can you expect? There's going to be some nerves there, but TCU just played an overall better game than Michigan. They just played better. They were more explosive on offense. They were quicker on defense. They just played an overall great game, and they shocked me. I didn't think they had that in them, but they did. And after that game, and watching what Georgia did after them, I can see this championship being a very close game.
Yeah, absolutely. And that game could have went very differently if they had They had a targeting call, right? Or a supposed targeting call with like 20 seconds to go.
Yeah, and that touchdown.
And they escaped that. They escaped that call.
So. The touchdown that got downed at the half-yard line and they fumbled Michigan. Yeah. That was just horrible to watch.
So TCU survives in advance, heading to SoFi Stadium to go up against the Georgia Bulldogs. And I haven't looked at a line for this game yet, but I'm assuming Georgia's obviously going to be favored, and I'm sure the points are going to be a wide margin.
I think Georgia's definitely going to be favored.
100%.
I'm assuming by a touchdown. But I don't know. After what we just saw, who knows?
I don't know. There's something special with the Horned Frogs this year. I don't know exactly what it is. I don't know if it's quarterback play, if it's leadership, or if it's just a whole vibe in that locker room, but they got something.
I think it's a vibe.
Going.
I think they're just a vibe team. They just have a vibe this year that they can just win every game.
It's Georgia 13. Yeah, Jake was gonna. Sorry, Jake. I stole your thunder.
It's 13.
It's 13.
Yeah, so I'm taking TCU 100%.
That's a lot of points. That's a lot of points.
That's a lot of points.
TCU on the money line plus 400. So there's value to be had in Max Duggan and the Horned Frogs.
I don't know if I like all that, but the spread, I'll take it 7 out of 7 days.
You see that video today of Brian Kelly eating the Cheez-Its off the field?
Yes. Did you all see the video of all the LSU players getting yelled at for celebrating with the Cheez-It mascot?
I did. Hopping into bed with the Cheez-It.
I thought it was hilarious.
I did too. It's a bowl game. Have some fun.
Yeah, have some. It's the last game of the season. Come on.
It doesn't need to be that serious.
Totally going to have a nice pizza party after that. Hell yeah.
Cheez-It party.
Do you think?
I would
How many
hope so.
Cheez-Its you think they get for being in the Cheez-It Bowl?
At least a box per player, right?
Yeah,
That has to be one of the gifts.
Let me tell you something. If I was playing in the Cheez-It, if I found out I'm playing in the Cheez-It Bowl and I don't get any Cheez-Its, there's going to be a fight.
So here's the thing that actually makes me curious about the Cheez-It Bowl. So you know how like every player gets gifts for being in these bowl games?
Yeah.
So you're probably getting the standard like jumpsuit, jacket, t-shirt, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But it's all going to be Cheez-It branded. And that's just like, that's so weird.
I don't think it's Cheez-It branded.
Well, it's going to have the Cheez-It brand on it.
It's probably going to have Cheez-It logo somewhere.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, that does suck.
That does suck.
There might be a lot of orange, too. That sucks.
Imagine if the Tigers made that, the Clemson Tigers made that game. Or the Volunteers. That's a lot of orange. Well, they did play in the Orange Bowl. Yeah, okay. So now we're getting somewhere.
Here we go.
The wheels are turning.
We're just getting warm here.
We're kicking off the dust from the weekend. It was a long
Hell
weekend.
Yeah. It was a good one though. Much needed.
So Alabama is not dead, and the Saban era is probably not over.
No, and I honestly, I would really like to take this time for everyone listening, for Jake, Chris, both you here. I would like to say, Chris, suck it, because you were so confident in your stupid Kansas State take that they have nothing to lose, blah 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 blah, and I hit you with the straight facts that Alabama was just a better team overall, up and down the field. And they went out there and they showed everyone why they shouldn't be playing Kansas State in a bowl game. It's literally all you can say from the game. Alabama was just so much better.
Bryce Young looked really good. 321 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks.
Declared for the draft today.
Good for him. He should be a top 5 pick.
He probably will be. He'll probably be the first quarterback taken.
Maybe the Jets.
I don't think so, bud.
One can only dream, right?
There's other teams that need quarterbacks.
But I think Alabama, man, this was a game that they really needed to win. They really needed to show the world that they don't belong in a non-college football playoff scenario. And now with the playoff expanding into 8 games, I don't know if that change happens next year or the following.
I'm pretty sure it's next year.
It's going to be pretty hard to see a team like Alabama with not only the foundation that Saban has built to set them up for future years with recruiting and just pure talent that program is able to draw based off their past success. But it'll be interesting to see, when will a program of that stature miss an 8-game playoff? Ever?
Very rarely.
Yeah.
As long as the trend continues. I mean, if there was an 8-team playoff, I mean, I'll take Alabama as an 8 seed at some point. Like I'm sure there's going to come a point where a very good team is just going to slip up in the regular season, end up becoming an 8 seed, and just dominating and winning as an 8 seed. It will happen.
I'm so happy, by the way, that this playoff is expanding into 8 teams, because I think the discrepancy between the 8 and a 9 seed in the college football polls is a lot wider than the margin between a 4 and 5.
Yeah, absolutely,
100%.
Yeah,
because you could make the argument Alabama was the 5th ranked team in the country. You could make an argument for them to be in. You can make an argument for Tennessee at 6 to be in.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely gets a little harder. It definitely gets a little harder to say Kansas State at 9 should be in.
Yeah.
So that'll be refreshing to not have those conversations.
I really like the 8-team playoff. I think it's going to be great. It's going to make college football playoffs even more fun to watch, in my opinion.
It's going to make it a lot fun to watch. A lot more fun to watch. And
There's a lot of people who don't like it.
I don't understand why.
Me neither.
But I think this could seriously help teams like UCF when they made that run a few years back to get into the playoff. Obviously, a few things didn't break Tulane's way, but they're still 16th in the country, and they still got slotted into the Cotton Bowl against USC. Who knows? If they pick up one more win and go into voting at 11-2.
Even a team like a TCU, like TCU just had the right breaks this year. If they had one thing go the wrong way, then they fall so far.
Yeah.
But it's still such a good team. So we're going to see a lot of those teams who are just like on the brink, just smaller programs, not like the Alabama, LSU, Clemson, like not all of them. The lower market teams like TCU and UCF and like teams like that, we're going to see them hopefully make a run in the playoffs. That's what I think is going to be fun about it, because you have more opportunity for underdogs and like an 8 seed just upsetting everyone and winning it all.
Yeah. Did you see that bad beat today in the Illinois game?
I did not. I actually did not watch
Jake was pointing this out to me earlier.
Unreal beat for +3.5 bettors.
It was +3.5. Illinois had the ball with no time on the clock, trying to hook and lateral it to get the ball upfield. And Mississippi State recovered a scoop and score and scored. If the ball was dead, it would have ended 13-10 Mississippi State. That makes me sick just thinking about that. You just gotta
hate that.
That makes me sick.
You gotta hate that. You can't help but feel for people who were Illinois bettors. You really can't. Everyone's been there.
It's a scary reality of hopping into the points game.
It is.
There's winners on the other side too.
That's true.
That play mattered to somebody.
I never think about that. That was a good point, Jake.
So it was a good weekend of college football. I think, like we said last week, I think a week from today we'll be sitting here probably declaring Georgia Bulldogs the national champions, but we'll have to wait and see what happens at SoFi next Monday night. It appears as of now, the spread is ridiculous. 13 is a lot of points, but it looks like Georgia's going to walk their way. Not even walk, they're going to dance their asses into a national championship ring. And Utah just threw another pick here, so now they'll have so now Penn State will have the ball. 21-14, 6 minutes left in the third, so looks like they'll be controlling the pace in this game. But it looks like Georgia a week from now is going to be walking into SoFi and probably leaving as national champions unless TCU can pull off a miracle, which, hey, I'm rooting for them, but I don't have all the faith in the world.
Me neither, but you have to still. All right, moving on from college football. It was a rough weekend for our picks, but it was a better weekend in the NFL. If you were a New England Patriots fan, this was a good weekend. We still got one more to go, but this was a good weekend.
Do you think you win this game if Tua Tagovailoa plays?
I do. I still think we win this game. Obviously, it becomes a completely different game, but I do still think we win. This team's got heart, man. I don't even think that we're going to make the playoffs and do anything. I really don't, obviously, but if we do get in, it's still fun. It's still fun. I still want to make the playoffs every year. Even if we're going to do nothing, I still want to make it.
I was going to say, would you sacrifice like a 500 season? Or, you can go 9-8 now. Yeah, we're going to sacrifice a draft pick for that? Because right now you're currently slotted to have the 21st pick in the draft.
Exactly. Who cares about the 21st pick? Whatever.
Right. The
And if
argument
we
I'm
lose this
making
game,
is,
we don't make the
would you
playoffs.
would you rather have a good
16th
pick?
Well,
You'll slot down
obviously,
about
I would
5,
rather
6
have
slots.
I'd rather have a top 5 pick, but in my opinion, if it's not top 5, like whatever, I'd rather make playoffs.
So it was a great game. I mean, Mac Jones looked great. Oh, actually, I wouldn't say he looked great. He looked very good. It was encouraging from the prior weeks. 203 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. It was nothing spectacular, but it was very solid quarterback play out of him.
Yeah, I mean, he looked dealable. He looked dealable.
He didn't look like a
Like,
franchise
I
guy,
can
but he
deal with
looked like a guy.
No, yeah,
He looked a hell of a
he
lot
looked
better
like
than
a
Teddy
guy
Bridgewater.
I can. Yeah, Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, you can't help but feel bad for him. The guy just steps on the field and just breeds injuries. It's insane.
Yeah.
He got taken out of this game because he got hurt. I think he went to concussion protocol. And Skylar Thompson comes in. Dolphins really had no chance. It's just fair to say. Patriots get the win, much needed win. Next week, got to play Buffalo. Got to beat Buffalo to make it into the playoffs. It's that simple. Got to beat Buffalo.
And Buffalo
And
has
even
some
if you
incentive
do
to
beat
play
Buffalo,
too.
even if you do beat Buffalo, most likely gonna play Buffalo first round of the playoffs in Buffalo.
Yeah. Well,
Again,
Buffalo
and
could.
we all remember what happened last year.
Yeah. And that was a spanking last year up in Buffalo.
So that's going to be rough. What I do want to talk about, actually, the Pittsburgh Steelers getting it done on Sunday night, and they very well could make this playoffs.
They are
If
very much
Buffalo
alive.
next week, if Buffalo beats New England next week, and the Jets beat the Dolphins, and the Steelers win, the Steelers are in.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's been a rough season for the Steelers. They've had questions about Mike Tomlin. People want to know, is he getting fired? Has he been there too long? There's been questions with Najee Harris. He's had a very bad season compared to last year. There's questions about Kenny Pickett. Did they make the right draft choice? So many questions around the Steelers team, and somehow they find themselves 8-8 in the hunt for a playoff spot.
It's actually unbelievable.
They're one win and two lucky breaks away from a playoff spot, when at the beginning of the season it looked like they might end the season with 4 wins.
Yeah, it was a pretty ugly start to the season. They couldn't get really anything productive on offense moving. And now you have guys like Najee Harris, who were pretty much non-factors to start the year. The guy's rushing for 100-plus yards now. He's returning back to his form from last year, which was an elite running back.
That's what he was last year, 100%.
And it's all coming around at the right time for the Steelers. Pickett looks comfortable. The defense looks great. I mean, I know this isn't a Ravens team with Lamar Jackson, but they're still a very good team all around. They're a very legit playoff team. And Pickett,
You gotta love the fight from the Steelers.
Yeah,
I love
great.
it, because the last thing I wanted them to do was win 4 games and then blame it on Mike Tomlin, because it's not Mike Tomlin. It's not. They just lack talent on this team is what it comes down to. They lack talent. I don't think it's Mike Tomlin. I think Mike Tomlin's a great coach. I think he's one of the best coaches of our generation, but the Steelers they lack talent, but they find themselves in a good spot here. You win your week 18 matchup. You hope New England loses to Buffalo on Monday night, and you hope the Jets spoil the Dolphins season. I would love for the Jets to spoil the Dolphins season. That would make my life so much nicer.
You know what's interesting?
Fuck the Dolphins.
With Tomlin and Belichick, I'm not comparing the two on any coaching level, besides the fact that no matter the talent they have on their roster, they will always find a way to make that team competitive. It's those types of coaches that they'll always have a team around 500. Like they'll find a way to make very low talented teams a 500 team. I want to talk about another head coach for a second. Ron Rivera, not knowing his Washington Commanders with the Packers win on Sunday, we're going to be eliminated from playoff contention.
Yeah, and then he tried to
That's a
cover
little
it up.
ridiculous.
He tried to cover it up by saying, I'm not trying to think about that. I'm trying to think about we need to win. If we
Dude,
win,
it's like
we're in."
that's like half of your
don't try to
job is to
cover it
pay
up. Just say
attention
you
to
don't
every
know.
factor possible.
Just say you don't know. Don't try to cover it up. But yeah, the Commanders are done because the Packers get a huge win against the Vikings.
And they are back, baby.
Let me tell you something.
Packers
If
shareholders,
someone
stand the fuck up. Come on.
If someone talked as much shit as Jair Alexander did before this matchup,
Well, he backed up every second of it.
and backed it up. If someone did that to me, I would be in the corner crying to my mom. Are you kidding me? If I'm Justin Jefferson, I don't even know what I did today.
I want every.
I think a hot shower for 2 hours, sat and cried in fetal position.
I want everyone to stop for a second and realize that Aaron Rodgers is still very much a very good quarterback in this league. There was a lot of people calling him done halfway through the season.
Yeah, we talked about it. We talked about it last week too. He needed to get comfortable with the receivers around him, and he wasn't at the beginning of the year. And that's where we saw the frustrations, and that's where we saw the Packers really struggle. They've hit their stride. Their defense is playing well. Rodgers is playing well. They're getting good run play from Jones and Dillon. They're looking great, and they're one win away from the playoffs too.
They're another one of those teams at 8-8 who are so interesting because in the last week of the season, there's so much that can happen. And boy, does 9-8 for a team like the Packers look so. That record 5-6 weeks ago would have shocked me. 9-8 from that team.
Exactly. It's the same. It's the same thing with the Steelers.
And I think the Packers are far better than the Steelers are in the term for how deep they are for a playoff push.
If the Packers get in, it's the same conversation we had last week about Tampa Bay and Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. If the Packers get in, Aaron Rodgers is going to make noise. He's going to make noise in the playoffs. He's not just going to fold over and let people win playoff games. He's going to go out there and compete. He's going to have his team ready for a playoff game.
But going back to the Commanders game for a second, because I know we kind of skipped over that fast, but boy, I feel bad for that franchise. And I almost don't understand the Carson. I understand you kind of have to. You committed to Wentz preseason as being the starter. He goes down, gets hurt, but Heineke had that team on a roll for a while, and I don't love the move to bench him, even though the season was dwindling down to these last 2 weeks and. If you were going to make a playoff push,
but it wasn't over. The season
wasn't over, and I understand that.
I think you have to give it
to. I understand it. There's probably a lot of pressure from the front office saying we committed to Wentz being the main piece at quarterback for this upcoming season. You have to at least throw him out there, but boy, did I think that Carson Wentz first off did not even look ready to play, in my opinion.
He shouldn't be playing on an NFL roster. He's not good.
Three interceptions. I mean, he's
not good. He's
ridiculous.
Not good. It's just a fact. The point is that they're already paying Carson Wentz the money that they're paying him. There's no reason for him to sit the bench. He could just play when they have to pay Taylor Heineke $125,000 every time he wins a game.
Taylor Heineke, if you're a Commanders fan, needs to be your starting quarterback moving forward. And I don't necessarily know what the plans are for the team moving into next year. I don't know if they necessarily have Heineke under contract, but that should definitely be an option for them.
I don't know what the hell they're going to do.
The Giants clinched a playoff spot, beating the Colts 38-10 and advancing to 9-6-1. They have locked up the 6th seed, right, in the NFC?
Yeah, the 7th seed is the only spot left in the NFC. Fighting for it is Seattle, Detroit, and Green Bay.
So yeah, Daniel Jones looked great again, as he's looked to improve the entire year, honestly. It's been looking better each and every week. Not as much noise from Saquon this week, but boy, did Daniel Jones 4 touchdowns, man.
Yeah, the Giants are solid. Daniel Jones looks good.
Is the first time since the infamous boat picture that the Giants will be going into the playoffs. So congrats to the Giants. It'll be fun to watch. Even though I'm a Jet fan, I love watching the Giants play. I think it's fun to see a New York team back in the playoffs.
Of course.
And the Jaguars, man. The Jaguars look great. Again. 31-3.
I mean, they decimated the Texans. It was easy work. Trevor Lawrence went out there and did the job. Big game against the Titans, Week 18.
Boy, if you had
Gotta win that game.
ETN in your fantasy football championship, handshakes all around. Guy absolutely went off.
It's kind of that's the momentum they need for the Week 18 matchup against Titans. I mean, the Titans rested Derrick Henry. They just named Josh Dobbs the starter for the rest of the year. I mean, the Jaguars have everything going their way for this Week 18 matchup. They look like they're definitely going to win this game and win the AFC South and get that playoff spot for the first time since
I'm looking forward to
2016.
watching that game. So yeah, the NFC playoff picture looks interesting. Eagles don't have the 1 seed locked up yet, or do they?
No, they have to win.
Yeah, one more. Purdy with the Niners looks great. Who would have thought that?
Not me. I was wrong about that. See what he does in the playoffs.
In Tampa Bay, down south. So we'll see what happens. I'm not betting against Brady again in the playoffs, so
Nope.
when that time comes around for picks, I will be staying away from the Buccaneers.
100%. No question.
And then it'll be really interesting to see what happens with the Bengals and the Bills, because there's still a route for the Bengals to be the 1 seed in the AFC. Unlikely as it is, but there's mathematically not impossible.
No, it's not. I mean, they got a big game. It's probably going to be a playoff matchup eventually. So, I'm excited to, see what Cincinnati has. I would love for them to beat Buffalo. Make my life a little bit easier.
So yeah, overall great week in the NFL. Week 18 will be hopefully just as thrilling as Week 17 was. There's going to be a lot of what feels like playoff games. Obviously, eyeing the schedule down, that Titans-Jaguars game, like you were saying, Zach, is one that jumps off the paper to you. Giants-Eagles, man. The Giants have incentive to play in that too. But I don't even know necessarily if you're a Giants fan if you want the Eagles.
The Giants are going to rest everyone in that game. They have the 6th seed locked up. They can't go any lower. They can't go any higher either.
I would rather the Eagles be the one, wouldn't you? Rather than the Cowboys be the one?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Giants are going to rest.
So it'll be interesting. Hopefully my Jets can make the Patriots route a little easier. If that's the way you want to go. If you want to get into a playoff spot, hey, I'm not stopping you.
That'd be nice. Yeah, so I mean, we'll see what happens in the NFL. Week 18 next week, and then we'll hit playoffs, and I'm excited for this upcoming playoff.
Shifting our focus over to Major League Baseball, real quiet in the free agent world. Real quiet. Not a lot of movement.
Nope, not a lot of movement in the MLB, and they spoil us right after winter meetings when everybody signs, and you kind of forget what the offseason is really like. This is what the offseason really is like. Not much happens on a day-to-day basis, but there's still stuff out there that we can talk about. And today we're going to get into the rule changes to 2023. We're going to get into the 3 big changes to the rules. That is the pitch timer coming to the MLB, the ban of shifts, and your personal favorite, Chris, bigger bases.
I'm a huge fan of bigger bases.
From 15 inches to 18. And I want to start on there. I want to start with the bigger bases because I want to get your opinion. You've been very vocal that you think this is actually going to be one of the biggest changes in the rules. So I'll let you take the stage. You go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, outside of the big ones that were coming in, which were getting rid of the shift and pitch clock, I think this one is not getting as much attention as it probably should. The bases will now be moved up from 8 to 18 inches from 15 inches square. Home plate will be unchanged from this rule. So the difference is actually reducing the distance between the bases by 4.5 inches. So there's no more of those 90 feet between bases anymore, which is crazy. That's changing what the game was for so long. So off the bat, as a baseball fan, that should be exciting to hear that there's changes in the game happening that were not changed for years. The move by Major League Baseball was originally to have players have more room to move around these bags to operate to avoid collisions. I think this is going to be the opposite of that. I think this is going to prove to have teams be more aggressive on the base path. There's going to be a lot more speed in the game now. You might see more guys with explosive speed come into games late. Maybe pinch running for some faster guys to Yeah, overall I think this will make teams more susceptible to being aggressive on the base paths. This will place a lot more emphasis on athleticism for base runners late in game. I don't think there's going to be two more instances of Daniel Vogelbach running the bases later in games. It'll be interesting to see how managers play around with this rule. I think this impact is only positive to the game as opposed to how some people will view the pitch clock. But I'm really interested to see how the larger bases really affect the game.
Yeah, I do think I think it is going to affect the game a little bit. I think you're going to see a lot more teams willing to steal bags. I mean, in minor league baseball, they already tried this out, and they did see that, they had more stolen bases last year. I'm pretty sure it rose from like 22% to 28% of runners stealing base, something like that. It rose a good amount. And,
Yeah.
It's because of that 4.5 inch reduction on the base paths. That 4.5 inches, it doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a lot because, you see how close throws are from the catcher down to the shortstop to tag him out at second base. You see how quickly that catchers have to be and how middle infielders have to be when they snap the tag. That 4.5 inches, that's that half a second that they need. That's that half a second that the runner needs, to give them that much more of an advantage over the fielder. And I think we're going to see a lot of teams, take more chances on the base paths just because it is slightly smaller now. You can get around the base paths faster. And, I'm excited to see if, more teams start running, if more teams try to leg doubles into triples, we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this truly affects the game in action. I haven't seen a lot of bad feedback from where it was tested in the minor leagues.
No, I don't think it's going to be bad. I mean, especially if you compare it to some of the other rules that they have put in place in previous years and this year. I don't think it's going to be bad. I like that they're changing the game, but sometimes I get worried about change because sometimes too much change is no good.
One smaller rule I'm really happy that Major League Baseball is addressing is limiting pickoffs. I'm very happy this is being addressed because there is occasionally between a pitcher and a runner, there becomes a whole game inside of a game scenario. And it can be a pain in the ass for even an advanced fan to watch. I shouldn't say advanced, but someone who's a diehard fan to a casual viewer. This would be painful to watch. This would be pulling teeth for you.
Yeah, I do like that they're addressing some of the things about the game that, the casual fan is not a fan of. Pickoffs being one of them. You see, I mean, you go to any MLB stadium after a couple pickoffs in a row, the boos start coming out. I mean, They didn't pay money to go see pickoffs, and they get pissed. I'm not a fan of the boos. Like, you don't need to boo them for throwing over to first base, but I get it, and I like the rule that they're putting in place. They're calling it disengagements. They say 2 disengagements per plate appearance, so that's a step off or a pickoff. I like it. It's going to speed up the game a little bit. This is kind of what they're putting in with, the pitch timer and all the things to try to make the game go quicker. And, we'll shift to that right now. The next rule on the list, the pitch timer. Chris, I want to get your opinion on the pitch timer because I think it's a bad attempt to make the game go quicker.
It's an attempt that Manfred has to make. So I think it's more of the position of the commissioner has to make this decision at some point in the next few years, whether that's Manfred or someone else who's sitting in his position. But Manfred's going to be the scapegoat for this one from baseball purists, who I don't necessarily I wouldn't say I'm a purist in the game. Trying to keep it as as old timey as possible. But I think this is a little too far in changing the game. I enjoy watching the cat and mouse game between a batter and a pitcher. I think the pitch clock is something that people around baseball are really going to have to adjust to, and I think we're going to see a lot of errors come out of this in spring training. I mean, spring training is 41 days away, which is that's exciting in itself, but I think this is this is going to piss off a lot of pitchers. How are you going to tell a guy like I know Scherzer is a guy who typically works fast. How are you going to tell a guy like Clayton Kershaw, who isn't typically a fast worker? He's not somebody who's delaying the game, but in a close game in the middle of August, when not necessarily the Dodgers are fighting for a division, but let's say they're fighting a divisional matchup against San Diego, and the division's close. Kershaw's on the mound. How are you going to tell the guy that he has to, that's a ball because you didn't throw it fast enough or you weren't set fast enough?
That's exactly what I'm saying. It doesn't make any sense. It's a absolute piss poor attempt to make the game go faster. And, they put it in the minor leagues and whatever. I don't care. I don't know about you. I went to a minor league game with the pitch clock. Dude, the guy basically has to run to the mound to start his windup every single time.
Now, what happens if
here it is. Here's the rules. So there's going to be a 30-second timer between each batter.
Yep.
Between pitches, these are the big ones. Between pitches, there's a 15-second timer with bases empty and a 20-second timer with runners on base. That's where it gets you right there. That 15-second timer with the bases empty and the 20-second with the runners on base. That's what's going to kill pitchers, especially with the runners on base, because baseball is not like a lot of these other sports. It's a lot of cat and mouse, chess game, mind games that you play with the base runner. If a base runner is not afraid that you're going to throw over, they're just going to take the base. And I think it's a huge disadvantage to pitchers and fielders and catchers that, I understand reducing, the disengagements that they're calling. And, even though I still think
that's a good attempt at limiting game time. And I don't think this is a good attempt.
It's still going to give such a disadvantage.
I think this is.
Think about this, right? If a pitcher now cannot throw over twice in a row, just to relax. A pitcher throws twice over because they want their guy in the bullpen to get a couple extra pitches in. That is now done. You cannot do that anymore, which I think it's just stupid. Because if he throws over once, Chris, and then he throws over again, or not even, if he throws over once and then he's got to scratch his balls the next time he comes set and he steps off the mound, guess what? You should just take the fucking base because he can't step off. He can't. He's physically not allowed to, or it's a ball.
Yeah, I think this is
So
also
what are you
going to
do then when guys are just stealing bases because the pitcher's not allowed to step off the mound?
Well, look at the reverse side of this. For the batter, it's going to be not an easy fix either. We all played baseball here. We know what we like to do in between pitches. We like to fix our batting gloves, kick our cleats, look at the third base coach. How are you supposed to tell a guy who's trying to pinpoint a 100-mile-an-hour cutter coming at him at the top of the zone to, hey, speed up, let's go, get back in the box, let's play?
You're telling me Aaron Judge is trying to hit his 62nd home run? If he, let's say this year he goes for 63. You're telling me when he's going to hit that 63rd home run, if it's 15 seconds in between fucking pitches, he's going to say, oh, sorry, strike 3, you're out. See you, buddy. Because you didn't get in the box fast enough. Come on.
I'll make a
kidding me? They have to be in the box. They have to be in the box with 8 seconds left.
I'm going to make a take on this right now that at some point in this following season, this rule, and I'm not saying from a batter's perspective or pitcher's perspective, I'm just saying this rule change in some capacity will fuck up a no-hitter or perfect game. 100%. 100%.
I think it's going to screw so much stuff up. I really do. I think it's going to get hard. It'd be really hard to change these guys' mindsets. I mean, these guys have been playing baseball since they were 5 years old in the backyard with their dad. They learned the game. It's like ingrained into their brains how to play this chess game, how to play this cat and mouse, mind games with people. And, Major League Baseball is now taking all of that out of the game. Not all of it, okay, but they're taking so much out of it. And, baseball is such a relaxed game. It's supposed to be played relaxed. Like you have to be relaxed when you play this game. You have to, go out there and have fun and not feel rushed or anything like that. A batter with bases empty has basically 7 seconds to get in the box.
Yeah.
Because they have to be in by the 8-second mark.
And, I'm not necessarily shitting on this rule as much as to what it's doing for the game. I understand why Manfred has to make this change. I understand. Listen, I completely understand why he's doing this. The games are way too long. I think last year's the average game was 3 hours and 11 minutes. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous when you compare it to other sports. The other 4 major sports are not spending 3 hours of action on a game. For a casual fan, it's not going to work for future generations.
Mm-hmm.
It's barely working for our generation if you're not a true diehard baseball fan. But I will say this. I hate giving Manfred shit because I actually do think he has done some good for the game. But I don't think this is the scenario where he should be getting praise.
Agreed.
I think where you can give him praise, is eliminating the shift.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's our third rule that's going to come in 2023 is the changes to the shift. And this is the biggest change in our game that we've seen in a while. This is going to change how so many players hit. It's going to change a lot of people's averages. You're going to see guys like those Joey Gallos of the world and the Anthony Rizzos and, the Matt Olsons, Corey Seagers, a lot of these big lefties who get, these huge shifts where they got 5 infielders on the right side of the field. Those guys are going to run themselves into so many more hits than they ever could have imagined because they're now going to be able to naturally pull the ball, which is what they all want to do. Those natural lefties like Joey Gallo and Anthony Rizzo, they just want to pull the ball. It's all they want to do. And eliminating that shift gives them that ability. And we're going to see a lot of players who have struggled in the past probably have better average seasons.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because you watched a guy like Ryan Howard get killed by the shift in the later parts of his career in Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a penalty for having too many guys on one side of second base? I don't imagine it's going to happen.
I have it right here. If the infielders are not aligned properly at the time of the pitch, the offense can choose an automatic ball or the result of the play. So,
wow,
they let the pitch happen. If they hit a home run, they can choose the home run.
That's interesting.
If it's a strike, they can choose a ball.
Yeah. I think the shift is going to be now. How far back can they go?
So here it is. I'll read you what
dirt?
this is. This is the MLB breakdown of the rules of what the rule is going to be. 4 infielders must be within the outer boundary of the infield when the pitcher is on the rubber. So you got to have 4 infielders on the dirt.
Yep.
Can't be in the grass.
Which
infielders, they cannot switch sides.
Like that. I don't necessarily like that at all.
You know, I'm going to assume that
there'll be some wiggle room to play a little shallow.
There's got to be wiggle room. It says within the outer boundary of the infield. You know, I don't know if they have an invisible boundary outside of the dirt. I don't know. I'm sure there's going to be wiggle room.
Well, you know what I bet this is? So, you know how in scenarios of infield fly rules, where it's pretty much a judgment call on the umpire to make, but essentially, if any of the infielders creep out into the shallower parts of the outfield grass, it's still theoretically an infield fly.
Yeah,
because by the rules,
there's going to be
it's if the infielder can make a play without having to extend further than their average position would allow them to.
Yeah, I do think there's going to be some wiggle room with a lot of these rules, honestly, especially at the beginning. This being the biggest one because, we haven't seen anything close to no shifts in a while. And, shifts have really have become, a part of our game. And I'm very happy that they're gone.
Yeah.
So infielders can't switch sides. So a team can't reposition their best defender on a different side of the field to try to get the ball.
Okay, I'm reading the rule a little further. Sorry to interrupt, but it does answer my question. So this rule does not preclude teams from positioning an outfielder in the infield or vice versa, have a shallow outfielder.
No, that's just outfield. Yeah, that's just outfield, though. You can't you can't put an infielder in the shallow grass.
Okay. Huh. Yeah, I guess because then theoretically you'd have 4 outfielders.
Exactly.
Oh, makes sense there. Okay.
I really think this is going to be good for the game. We're going to see. I feel like we're also going to see a lot of guys focus more on average than power, which is, in my opinion, good. I think we're going to see a lot more balls in play. I think we're going to see strikeouts go down. People's approaches to the plate are going to become so different.
Yeah.
And these guys who get shifted on constantly are, going to be able to open up their full potential. I have a list right here. Most hits lost since 2020 because of the shift. Got Corey Seager on here, Matt Olson, Anthony Rizzo, Charlie Blackmon, Max Kepler. Those are the top 5. Those guys who are just pull hitters are going to be able to use their strengths finally. They haven't been able to use them in years. And they're finally going to be able to use their strengths, which is pulling the ball.
Yeah. Well, like I mentioned earlier, the feedback has been good through minor league baseball, so I do have faith in that regards that, this isn't something we're jumping into blindly. I do think these changes, obviously nothing's permanent. Maybe, if the pitch clock does deem to be not as useful as they expected it to be, maybe that could be voted out in a future CBA. But this CBA is, I think generally we're looking at it in a positive light. Although, off the bat, we don't love the rule changes. I think there is some excitement to be had with rule changes, and I do think this opens the door for robo umps. Excuse me. I didn't know if I was going to say robot or robo.
And actually, you talk about robo umps, and that could be a whole different episode because that actually makes me very angry. The robo umps, I think,
I have a very different.
If that happens in the MLB, we will lose everything that makes baseball good. Everything.
I disagree.
I don't know if you really want. Do you really want to get into this right now? Because we'll be here for another hour talking about.
I think we should do. I think we should do. I think we should do an episode on this exclusively. But
all right, if anybody wants to hear an argument about
we'll save it for a rainy day on this one. But I think truly overall, the game is trending in a direction for robo-umps, and I have no issues with that. And before we depart this conversation, I'll say one thing. The worst thing that television could have done was adding a virtual strike zone on every single person's TV screen at home, because now you've made millions of umpires around the globe.
Okay, congratulations. You're not a natural umpire, though. You can't call balls and strikes.
Now you're holding the game to a certain standard because we know the answer to every single play.
But who gives a fuck about the standard, Chris? You're a fan. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Who gives a shit what you think? You're a fan.
I think overall, the game is trending in a direction where these umpires are being called out way too frequently on bad calls because, like I said, everyone knows their errors now. As soon as they happen, it's instantaneously. Every viewer knows if a ball was called correctly, if a strike was called correctly. And I think the players know this as well.
But it's like that in every single sport now. It's like that with everything because everything has a microscope on it because everything is recorded from a million different angles.
Sure, but balls and strikes are something that have always been left alone. Balls and strikes have been left alone. There's no other comparison in any other of the major sports to compare balls and strikes to. What's going to happen? Because that is the only major rule of any sport that still relies on the human element to be correct.
That's so false. What do you mean? What do you mean?
What other sport is a non-reviewable?
A ref in football,
but it's reviewable.
They don't see holding, and they're like, "Oh, I don't see holding," or they do. They either see it or they don't. It's up to them to decide if they want to throw the flag.
Right, but it's not as game-changing as balls and strikes are.
What do you mean? How is it not?
Because how could it not be?
Chris, but here's what's going to happen. And honestly, this is the last thing I'm saying about the topic because you're pissing me off, and we'll talk about this another time. This is the last thing I'll say about robot umps. What's going to happen if they put robot umps into the MLB? This is what's going to happen. Guys are immediately going to be like, okay, this is my strike zone. I have this box here, and that's it. And they're all going to know it. They're all going to know it. So you're going to see less chases. You're going to see more walks. You're going to see less strikeouts because they're going to have no reason to swing at any ball outside the zone. If it's a fastball outside the zone, why am I going to swing at it? Those ones that are on the edge, I ain't swinging.
Yeah, and that's almost like how the game should be played, right? There should be a set strike zone for every player. And I shouldn't have to guess on whether the umpire is going to call low balls today or high strikes, because we've seen this happen too many times. That's how the game
works, Chris. That's how the game works. That's the point of the game.
Before technology. Sure, before technology.
No. It's not technology. It's technology bullshit. Fuck you. That's how the game works. You have to play the game. There are parameters, but then you have to play towards your ump. That's the perfect part of the game. That's why people love it. It's beautiful. I can't believe you, of all people, I did not think you, of all people, would be for this robot ump shit. Like, it's blasphemy what they're trying to do. It's blasphemy. If I see a robot ump, I may never watch another baseball game. I'm not even kidding.
It'll end up saving the game.
It's the dumbest possible thing.
It'll end up saving the game.
Saving the game.
100%.
Saving the game.
100%.
Baseball, 50% of baseball fans probably, I'm making this stat up, obviously, but 50% of baseball fans probably are like 45 plus. You think they want to see a fucking robot behind home plate? No. They want to see Bill Miller, or whatever the fuck his name is, and Angel Hernandez. That's who they want to see. Give me Angel Hernandez.
I don't want to see Angel Hernandez anymore.
I do. You've officially pissed me off to the fullest extent of the law. Like, I'm so mad.
All right, good. You can have your human umpires.
No, we're done. We're done. Picks. Let's go.
Powered by Riverside.
All right, so there's some big games coming up this week. So what are we looking at, lads, for some picks?
I'll go first. I got college basketball this week. People are already saying that I'm, the best pick giver on the internet.
I haven't heard this.
I'm great. I'm really good at picks, making them a lot of money, and everybody else.
We must be talking to different people.
Really bad at picks. So, I'm going to keep the hot streak going. College basketball tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Mississippi State plus 10.5 against Tennessee. I love it. It's a big time upset. They're both 11-2. Tennessee's ranked 8. Mississippi State is unranked. But I'm really liking Mississippi State. Fuck Tennessee. They won a bowl game. They can't win this game.
I'm taking the Marquette Golden Eagles on the road, minus 2.5 against St. John's in Queens. I think Marquette is overall the better team. I don't think St. John's has looked as good in recent days.
St. John's sucks this year.
Marquette just came off a win against Villanova. I know they're not the Villanova of last year, but Marquette in the last 2 games comes off, I believe, one road victory at Seton Hall, and a win against Villanova. So I like them moving into this game. They're moving into a new year. So yeah, I feel like Marquette minus 2.5.
Jake.
For me, I'm going to stick with hockey. I'm going to go the Coyotes-Panthers game tomorrow night, Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. 6.5 is the over-under. We're taking the over. The Panthers let up an unreal amount of shots and goals, and the Yotes probably won't win the game, so we're going over.
I love your thinking. Look at you using that brain. College degree, guys.
Hockey guy Jake.
You got to use it.
And now it's time
for
everybody's favorite segment of the week.
We're going to get into, something very sad, and, that's roulette, because we're really bad at it.
We're due.
And we are due, and it's just starting to make me really depressed.
I think every time we have spun the wheel, or every time we've selected a random number, I feel like we've gotten a high number. And today we have 4, so I'm excited to see.
I'm ready.
Hopefully the odds are in our favor here.
I hope so. Hunger Games.
I didn't even realize that.
Be ever in your favor.
We are spinning, everybody. 26.
God damn it!
Come on. Now we get it in the 20s, of course. This is my pissed off face for anybody watching the YouTube. I'm pissed.
All right, everybody.
Thanks, everybody, for listening today. Come on back on Friday. We'll have another episode on Friday. Love you guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys on Friday.
Love you guys.